All of us must once at least have thought about this question, that who decided what time it is everywhere. In this video, let's discuss about a brief history of time and time measurement. So time is what makes now different from then across the universe. But universally agreeing upon this concept of hours, minutes and seconds is of course made up by us. In the past, sunrise, sunset and just some seasons were all the timekeeping that we required. But with civilization came schedules because people had to schedule meetings and manage employees or workers. So the Egyptians came up with the first clocks using shadows and split the day in 12. But what about the nights? So Egyptians marked the night hours by watching 12 of their favorite constellations. On the other hand, finger counting with the base 12 could also have been a possibility. The fingers each have 3 joints, and so counting on the joints gives one full hand of 12. There are various theories about how the 24-hour day got developed. The fact that day was divided into 12 hours might be because 12 is a factor of 60 and both the Babylonian and Egyptian civilizations recognized a zodiac cycle of 12 constellations. From about 700 BCE, the Babylonians began to develop a mathematical theory of astronomy, but the equally divided 12 constellation zodiac appears much later, about 500 BCE, to correspond to their years of 12 months of 30 days each. Here's how a Babylonian calendar used to look like. Now, as the sun moves across the sky, shadows change in direction and length. So a simple sundial can measure the length of a day. But it was quickly noticed that the length of the day varies at different times of the year. In classical Greek and Roman times, they used 12 hours from sunset to sunrise. But since summer days and winter nights are longer than winter days and summer nights, the lengths of the hours vary throughout the year. Hours did not have a fixed length until the Greeks decided that they needed such a system of theoretical calculations. And this is just when Hipparchus proposed dividing the day equally into 24 hours, which came to be known as equinoctial hours. They are based on 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness on the days of the equinoxes. However, ordinary people still continued to use seasonally varying hours for a long time. Later, the Greeks decided to divide circles into random 360 degrees, and each degree into 60 smaller minutes, and each of those into further 60 smaller seconds. The Greek astronomers borrowed a lot of mathematics from the Babylonians, who used a base 60 number system, and who in turn had borrowed this idea from the Sumerians. Now, since clocks are circular in shape, so why not use this concept of minutes and seconds for time as well? The entire history of inventions for measuring and regulating time included several experiments, starting with oil lamps, candle clocks, water clocks, hourglasses, and sand glasses. Christian Huygens made the first pendulum clock regulated by a mechanism with a natural period of oscillation in 1656. Galileo studied pendulum motion as early as 1582, but his design for a clock was not built before his death. Huygens' pendulum clock had an error of less than 1 minute a day, and his later refinements reduced his clock's errors to less than 10 seconds a day. So science ended up molding clocks into intricate counting machines. This brought in the concept of a day. People got to know when to wake up, when to go to work, when to eat, or even when to go to sleep. With the Industrial Revolution, man became slave to the clocks because productivity started getting measured by what you made in how much time. Different cities and different companies would follow the time in their own clocks, which was measured, choosing 12 noon to be whatever time the sun was overhead in their cities. So this complicated the system of trains and telegraphs traveling over the world. It was not until 1884 finally that a conference at Greenwich reached agreement on global time measurement and adopted a Greenwich Mean Time as the international standard. The Greenwich Mean Time would be the time adjusted for the time zones, which is a whole other thing and we will not be discussing in this video. Today, our clocks work so well that we take them so much for granted, but it's high time we sit back and think that it took more than 3,000 years of effort for the Babylonians and the Egyptians, Galileo, or any other scientist all working together to synchronize the entire world and help us measure time.